Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Du Shanghai from College of Engineering at Peking University. And today, my topic is flow visualization via Vortex phase field in Openfoam. As we know, the computational fluid dynamics is to solve the Navier-Stokes equations by numerical methods, and it usually has 3 stages. In pre-processing step, we do model construction and mesh generation. In computation step, we select the red solver and red boundary conditions. And in post-processing, we do flow field visualization. And this is also important step. And today, I will focus on this and introduce a post-processing method, the VSF method. So, in Vortex structure visualization, Vortex criterion is a widely used method. It can identify Vortex core structures with strong rotation. It is a quantitative description, but it is not a quantitative description. And the selection criteria of isospace are not unique and subjective. So for these reasons, we proposed the VSF method. It can track and quantify the overall flow structure. And we can also see the comparison of VSF isospace and Q criterion isospace on the figure below. Now, let me introduce the VSF method. The Vortex phase field is a 3-dimensional scalar field, and the isospace of the VSF is a vortex phase consisting of vortex lines. And this scalar field phi is tangent to the vorticity at every point in a flow field. Serving as a journal flow diagnostic tool, it also provides a quantitative framework to study the Lagrangian vortex dynamics. And it describes the evolution of vortex phase structure with time. And the original paper also provided some different cases, and we can see these cases below. And in these cases, we can see the isospace of the VSF in different. However, it is generally hard to obtain an exact VSF solution for flow field with chaotic vortex lines. So the VSF method as an artificial derivative term with respect to a pseudo-time, tau. At the same time, the local error of a numerical VSF solution is quantified by lambda. That is the angle between vorticity and the gradient of the VSF. Also, we can demonstrate that as tau approaches infinity, the volume average VSF error lambda approaches 0. As sketch of the two-time method, in the VSF calculation, each time step is divided into 2 subtypes. That is the prediction subtype and the correction subtype. In prediction subtype, the temporary VSF is driven by the physical velocity. However, there will be some error after this type. So, in correction subtype, VSF is driven by the frozen vorticity, and it relatively involved in pseudo-time, just like the sketch on the figure above, like this. Next slides are about implementation of VSF in Openfoam. We have visualized the vortex phase of some flows before. However, these flows are simple, and we want to calculate some more complex and realistic flows. So we integrate the VSF method into Openfoam, this universal and powerful platform. The outline on the right shows the structure of the VSF form, and we integrate the VSF method into Openfoam 10. For example, we set 3 VSF solvers based on Openfoam solvers, Ecofoam, Pimplefoam, RealPimplefoam, respectively. And these 3 solvers are included in the application folder. And this folder also provides a post-processing utility, that is VSF pseudo-eval. The other folder, the SRC folder, includes core models of solving the VSF. We also provide a Taylor-Green flow tutorial in this VSF form, and we can see more details in this slide. One particular file is VSF dict. In this file, we set some parameters about the VSF calculation. For example, n characters means number of pseudo-time iterations, and epsilon means artificial viscosity coefficient for predictor and character. And the function of other files is similar to that of the solver Openfoam. Next, I will introduce 3 cases using the VSF form. The first case is Taylor-Green flow. In this case, the computational domain we set is a cubical domain from 0 to 2 pi, and the boundary conditions in all 3 directions are periodic boundary conditions. And we can see the initial velocity field on the left finger and the initial VSF on the right finger. In this case, we use the solver VSF Openfoam. In this slide, we can see the parameters we set in Taylor-Green flow, and we can see the value of these 4 parameters in the table above. Here, n tau denotes iteration number, n denotes green number, and Re and epsilon denotes artificial viscosity Reynolds number and artificial viscosity coefficient, respectively. Besides, the isosurface of the VSF is set to 0.5 for visualization. And we can also see the VSF isosurface, in this case, at time 0 on the right finger. Next slide, I will show the evolution of the VSF isosurface in this case. And the VSF evolution has 3 stages. In the early stage, from picture A to picture D, the vortex surfaces are strenged and gradually approach to each other. But we can see the topology of vortex surfaces and vortex lines are unchanged. In the transition stage, in picture E and picture F, the topology of vortex lines and vortex surfaces changes, and we can see this phenomenon. And we can also see the incipient vortex reconnection. In the later stage, in picture G and picture H, we can see vortex tubes are stretched and twisted, and vortex tubes roll up at the edges of the vortex surfaces. We also quantitatively analyzed the influence of these 4 parameters on VSF deviation. In this slide, we analyzed the influence of iteration number and the green number. And in the left part, we analyzed the iteration number from 5 to 15. And we can see as the iteration number increases, VSF deviation becomes smaller. In the right part, we can see as the green number increases, VSF deviation becomes smaller too. And this slide shows the influence of Reynolds number and artificial dissipation. In the left part, we can see as the Reynolds number increases, the VSF deviation becomes bigger. And in the right part, as artificial dissipation decreases, VSF deviation becomes smaller. And we can see these 4 trends accord with our expectations. We also did a time-consuming test. In this test, the number of pseudo-time iterations n tau is set from 5 to 15. As we can see in this figure, as n tau increases, the computation time of VSF also increases linearly. And VSF takes about the same time as Openfoam, when n tau is equal to 10. The second case we set is the flow past the finite plate. In this case, the computational domain we set is a rectangular domain, and the parameters of the plate, as shown in the sketch below. Aspect ratio is set to 2, angle of attack is set to 30 degrees, and Reynolds number is set to 100, and velocity in the inlet flow is set to 1. And in practice, we simulated with the heft of the plate. The boundary condition of the front wall is set to symmetry, and the green number is about 2 million. In this case, we also use the solver VSF Openfoam. Next slide shows the evolution of VSF isosurface in this case. First, since there's no exact VSF solution in this case, we constructed VSF with vorticity at time 0.02. And in this case, the VSF evolution has 3 stages. In the early stage, the vortex phase remains flat and stretches along the incoming flow direction. And we can see this phenomenon at time 1. At time 3, as the incoming flow wraps around the plate, the vortex faces roll up at the plate edges. And we can also see the comparison of the VSF isosurface and the vorticity magnitude isosurface on the figure below. At time 4, the vortex phase at the leading edge of the plate leads to form an expansive structure. Ultimately, it develops into the hairpin vortex structure. And the vortex phase in the weak region continues to stretch along the incoming flow direction. Ultimately, it forms spiral vortex tube structure. We also tested the VSF deviation in this case, and we can see in this figure, the VSF deviation is controlled below 10%, and it is accurate enough for characterization of VSF surfaces. The third case we set is wing-body configuration. Common research model, namely CRM, wing-body configuration, was designed by Boeing Company, and it represents the typical cruise configuration of modern transport aircraft. It also presents as a benchmark research model at AIA Drag Prediction Workshop. In this slide, we can see the parameters we set, and we can see the value of these 4 parameters in the table. Here, the boundary condition of the front wall is also set to symmetry, and the green number in this case is about 9 million. In this case, we use a solver VSF row pimple form with the 0.027 scale of the half model. This slide, we can see the evolution of the VSF isosurface in this case, and we can divide the evolution of VSF into 2 parts. The first part, the vortex faces at the leading edge on the wing of the wing lead to form a flowing wave strap. The second part, hairpin vortex structures are formed near the wing tip and spread and follow along the flow direction. And we can see in this. We also tested the VSF deviation in this case, and we can see that in this case, the VSF deviation is also controlled below 10%, and it is also accurate enough for characterization of vortex surfaces. So in conclusion, based on Openfoam 10, we integrate the VSF method with incompressible and compressible solvers, and we visualized the evolution of the VSF in telegraph flow, in plate flow, and in wing-body configuration using the solver VSF Openfoam and VSF row pimple form respectively. And in the future, we want to validate the VSF solvers on some more complex configurations. Thanks for your attention.